How do I pass the Praxis 2 test? Top 4 problems you must solve if you want to pass the Praxis 2. You have to pass the Praxis 2 if you want to live your calling as a Texas certified teacher. Did you have a teacher back in elementary or high school you really thought was the greatest, and you've always sought to be somewhat like him or her? You've known for years teaching is the ideal profession for your unique abilities, aptitudes, and interests. Ever since you can remember, living your dream life as an educator is what really nurtures your soul. You want to be an educator so you can live your calling and help young people live better lives. Nothing is cooler than seeing that light bulb moment when your students suddenly truly understand the lesson you just taught them. Being a teacher is what you were put on this earth to do. You know to turn your passion into reality. You have one last obstacle you have to bust through. You must pass your Praxis 2 exam. You've probably been thinking over and over again, how do I pass the Praxis 2 test? After all, thousands of highly qualified Texas teacher certification candidates fail this exam every year. So what can you do to avoid being yet another Praxis 2 exam roadkill? Is the Praxis 2 exam like the test in your education classes? Will you pass the Praxis 2 on your upcoming testing date? Or will you go through a never-ending spin cycle of failure, causing your career in education to crash on the rocks and get washed up on the shore of despair? Here are 4 main causes of Praxis 2 test score failure reported by Texas test takers. Problem number 1. The amount of information you're required to know on the Praxis 2 is too vast. There is too much overwhelming information to learn. This information is not what is taught in classrooms. You may say, this exam and information has little to do with my ability to be a good teacher. And you're absolutely right. You may also exclaim, the vast amount of information that could pop up on the Praxis 2 was never taught in my education classes. It's a scam and just not fair. Right again. I've heard hundreds of Praxis 2 test takers say, how do I pass the Praxis 2 test if I clearly do not know what I am facing? I couldn't agree with you more. Problem number 2. I need a focus to narrow the information to what's actually tested so I know what to study. It's not possible to study everything but the kitchen sink and expect to pass the Praxis 2. Problem number 3. I've been out of college for many years. I'm not getting any younger. It's hard taking a test like this at this point in my life and career. Haven't I proven myself already? Because the law dictates it. I have to do hundreds of practice questions, buy a slew of 300-page study guides, and eventually take this nerve-wracking test. A fellow teacher at my school, he's in his 50s, took the test several times and failed it. He was given one last chance or else he will be banned from his teaching career he's invested most of life in. He can never teach again. I have been out of school for more than 2 decades, and I feel I might end up like him too. Problem number 4. I do not have time to study with work and family and have procrastinated. I've hardly cracked any of my Praxis 2 study guides. I know I haven't studied enough to pass the Praxis 2. This is disastrous. It stresses me out so much since the test is a few weeks away. I am constantly thinking I will fail, I will fail, I will fail, and see my family losing our home and our standard of living if I am axed from the teaching career I love. I feel there is no way now for me to pass the Praxis 2. Why did I procrastinate in all the weeks leading up to my testing date? I wish I took action when I still had a decent chance for test success. No amount of test preparation will make everything better. If you're doing all the wrong things in your Praxis 2 test preparation and or using the wrong Praxis 2 study guides. On the brighter side of things, you may be overwhelmed with so many things to study in so little time. You may feel inadequate being out of school so long and lose confidence. Still, it does not change the fact that you need to be a licensed teacher in order to provide for yourself family, and make a difference in the lives of young people who need you. What you must do now, amidst all your trouble, is 1. Ask recent test takers who passed the Praxis 2 how they did it. What test preparation strategy caused them to pass? When you ask them, be sure to address the specific problems you're facing and how they overcame those obstacles in Praxis 2 preparation and Praxis 2 test taking. When you first start talking, the Praxis 2 test taker may be slow to reveal their secrets and insights. But after you talk to them for 4 or 5 minutes, they tend to warm up. Don't be surprised if your sincere but probing questions yield some juicy nuggets and shocking revelations about your Praxis 2 study you can use finally to slay those beasts and pass your upcoming Praxis 2 tests. 2. Only use Praxis 2 study guides by teachers who passed your specific Praxis 2 exam. 3. Find out what test takers who passed did to break through the vast, overwhelming Praxis 2 content and get a focus for Praxis 2 test success. Do that, and like a giant ship in the ocean, you can turn around your Praxis 2 test prep problems that seem impossible before you lose the teaching career you've worked so hard to achieve. To discover proven and patented tactics to pass the Praxis 2 by educators who passed, go to www.teachingsolutions.org/PRAXISIIHTML right now.